Due to a late night at the festival, and a trip to the Elven nightclub within the dungeon, Rimuru wakes up with a massive headache.
Cancel pain seems to have been weakened.
You see, he was out drinking with King Gaziel and Archduke Arold, both of whom volunteered to assist Tempest with gathering dwarven gold coins. Now, the Colosseum holds 50,000 people, and currently, every single seat is filled. The audience is protected by magical barriers, and they even get a close-up of the action, thanks to massive magical TVs. Our beautiful announcer then begins introducing our 8 finalists. There's the hero, Masayuki, who's made it this far without even unsheathing his sword, followed by his companion, Jinrai the Mad Wolf. Next, it's Gaie, the Flowing Swordsman, just before the eternal rivals, Bovix and Equix.
May I attempt to gift each of them a skill?
With Raphael's help, both of them acquire the skill Determiner, plus Bovix gains Ultra Speed Regeneration, and Equix gets Magic Interference. Next up is a totally mysterious stranger only known as Lion Mask, just as Sokka relays a message telling him to not reveal his identity. Moving on, we have Gobta, the hobgoblin known for driving all the girls crazy. And lastly, Geld, the Iron Wall of Defense. The crowd goes wild as Rimuru steps down into the ring, where he exclaims that the hero is fighting for the right to challenge him. Our Demon Lord then promises Jinrai a new set of equipment, followed by Gaie demanding to fight Rimuru as well. Our slime orders Bovix and Equix not to disappoint, and then turns to Lion Mask, asking him to please not be too reckless. Rimuru congratulates Gobta on making it this far, even though he had a bye in the first round. Lastly, Geld receives some encouragement, followed by the matches being randomly assigned. Round 1 begins with these rivals giving it their all. It's an even back and forth for the first 20 minutes, until Bovix throws his axe, causing Equix to sacrifice an arm. He retaliates with a flurry of point-blank stabs, but Bovix counters with a lightning-infused headbutt, earning him the narrow victory. Round 2 has the hero pitted against his very own ally. Jinrai surrenders, and the crowd goes wild. Round 3 begins with Gobta's armor barely saving him from being cut down. He's barely able to dodge and even tries to flee the ring, but Gaie savagely refuses to let him escape. Shion genuinely praises Gobta's ability to dodge, and Rimuru promises him a fishing pole if he wins the tournament. Upon hearing this, Gobta grows serious and summons his star wolf, though Ranga erupts from his shadow, instantly claiming victory. Our hobgoblin is stunned by what just happened, and Diablo proclaims that summons are in fact within the rules. Jumping into the last quarterfinal match, you see Geld drop his weapon and even remove his armor. He's met by a mixture of lightning-fast punches and kicks, and even though he can barely react, his guard stands strong. Geld does land a few attacks himself, and as the next 20 minutes passes, the crowd continuously grows louder. Lion Mask is curious as to why Geld isn't using any skills, which is because he doesn't want an unfair advantage. If Carrion can't use his full power due to being in disguise, then Geld will play by the same rules. Thoroughly enjoying himself, Carrion powers up just a bit, successfully breaking through Geld's guard and landing a deep punch to his gut. Our High Orc stumbles backwards, conceding the match, and they both agree to fight again, but using their full powers in the future. Moving on to the semi-finals, we get a stare down between the absolutely terrified-looking hero and his opponent. Bovix remarks on Masayuki daring to challenge Demon Lord Rimuru, but it's oddly met by a compliment. Mr. Hero declares it's a shame that Bovix had such a tough first round, because Masayuki would hate to defeat Bovix when he's not at his full potential. Admitting he feels the same way, Bovix forfeits this match, while promising to wait for the hero within the dungeon. The crowd erupts with applause as Rimuru begins to wonder if he could be tricked by the hero as well. The final match for the day pits Gobta versus Lion Mask. Ranga is immediately summoned and charges forward, barely avoiding a powerful tornado kick. Ranga latches on to Carrion's arm, only to be slammed by the other. A wide-range lightning strike is unleashed, forcing Ranga to flee the ring, only to be immediately resummoned. Working together, our duo begins purposely targeting the mask, forcing Carrion to defend it at all costs. The crowd boos this performance, but due to this underhanded tactic, Ranga lands multiple direct hits. This one-sided situation continues until Carrion is eventually forced out of the ring, marking his defeat. Which means tomorrow's finals will be the mighty Gobta versus the renowned hero. Later that same day, Ranga is shocked to learn that Rimuru is less than happy that he forced his way into the tournament. He is, however, ordered to go all out against the hero tomorrow, but is reminded he has to follow Gobta's orders like a real summon. At dinner, the kids are discussing the epic fights, as you overhear Milam's disappointment in Carrion's defeat. Hinata brings up Rimuru's potential fight with Masayuki, as Kenya and Alice declare the hero to be stronger. Hinata, however, thinks she could beat the hero 9 times out of 10, and the kids all agree that she's unbeatable. However, unlike a certain someone, Masayuki seems open to discussion, followed by Hinata threatening a rematch. Switching topics, she states that Gobta seems to have a lot of potential, but Rimuru knows he has a habit of screwing everything up. The meeting hall is tense as King Gazeel steps inside. He's gathered up 1,500 dwarven gold, which Rimuru offers to teleport and pick up tomorrow. It's then revealed they're still a few hundred shy, and Gazeel can't believe they had the audacity to run a festival like this. An unexpected third party then enters, gladly offering to make up the difference. Our Demon Lord points out it's not her problem, but Gazeel proclaims words to be useless because Elmesia always gets her way. The Emperor teases young Gazi, stating that she liked his grandfather better. Though back on topic, Elmesia adds a single non-negotiable condition for her assistance. Rimuru must promise to always be sure to invite her to any future events. Our slime instantly agrees, causing Gazeel and Errol to wince at the future stress they're sure to endure. Then casually opening her purse, Elmesia hands over 1,000 dwarven gold coins. She also states that a mastermind must be behind this, and that their goal is likely to make Rimuru owe them a favor. Benimaru asks who would do such a thing, and Elmesia motions Damali, who reveals he's heard rumors of a powerful underground organization in the West. Soe is glad to look into this, and Elmesia is shocked that she didn't sense his presence at all. The Emperor then has a question. How does Rimuru plan to deal with this primal demon if he were to go out of control? Our slime has no idea what she means by primal, but he simply says he'd stop Diablo, of course. This causes Elmesia to laugh before stating their nations are now officially friends. Rimuru then promises to keep them in the loop on any future plans, followed by Elmesia asking to be introduced to the baker Yoshida. The third day begins with Rimuru quickly retrieving the gold from the Dwarven Kingdom. He then promptly heads to the Colosseum, eager to finally witness how the hero will fight. Elsewhere, Masayuki is sweating bullets, just thinking back on Bovix and Equix's match. His friends cheer him on like always, but he's terrified to go up against such a strong and cool opponent. I mean, he's left only hoping that his unique skill will somehow keep him alive. Match begins with Gobta sliding past his opponent to the opposite side, immediately unleashing his new ultimate power.
Gobta has gained the Summon Demon Wolf skill, which also works alongside Unify.
Rimuru suspects that Raphael helped him acquire said skill, and he watches as Ranga is summoned, then fuses himself with Gobta. Milam absolutely loves this new form, and Hakuro sings praises for his pupil. Moving faster than the eye can see, Gobta rockets forward, missing his target and face-planting into the wall, thus falling unconscious. Benimaru is disappointed. Shion exclaims this is expected, and Hakuro is absolutely fuming. The crowd cheers, believing the hero to have skillfully thrown Gobta, but in reality, the idiot just couldn't control his new power. Milam really wants to borrow Gobta, that way she can fix him, and Rimuru agrees after getting permission to explore Clayman's ruins. Jumping back in time moments earlier, Masayuki is shitting bricks at Gobta's transformation. He couldn't even see Gobta move, and can only think about how much stronger Demon Lord Rimuru must be. Soka goes to announce the winner, but to everyone's surprise, the hero forfeits the match. He blatantly admits that Gobta was much too fast for him, but the crowd interprets this as the hero letting Rimuru off with a warning.
His unique skill causes everyone to always see his actions as heroic.
Now having confirmed the hero really is weak, Rimuru asks Soe to set up a meeting. Gobta comes too, as Soka declares him to be the winner of the tournament, securing him a spot in the Big Four. Though a Demon Lord appears, congratulating him on the victory, but declaring it's time for him to train. His master states this is a good opportunity for him, followed by Milam dragging Ranga away as well. Next, we find our slime having lunch with the extremely nervous hero. though upon revealing himself to be Japanese, Masayuki finally starts to relax. Then it's after taking a single bite that the hero asks to serve under Demon Lord Rimuru. Apparently, he despises this hero status and is unable to turn the skill off.
Skill is too weak to affect you.
Rimuru, however, reminds him of his deal with Bovix and asks Masayuki to use his hero status to hype up the dungeon. Masayuki agrees, so Rimuru gives him a few hints to help him progress through the early floors. Though the hero brings up a very important question. Is Rimuru planning to produce manga in this world? With one final check, Rimuru makes his way to Veldora's chamber. He reminds them this opening is only temporary, as the dungeon will close again tomorrow for fine-tuning. The dragon is stunned upon hearing this, though Rimuru's definitely told him multiple times. He then asks about Milam, who is apparently forcing the Gobta Ranga duo to play with the dungeon's dragons. The plan is to only send in a handful of parties, who will be recorded by dryads, thus projecting their experience onto large TVs for all to see. Soka taunts any potential adventurers, prompting Basan to step forward, dissing the tournament. Next, Aaron's party volunteers, followed by a man's outburst from another room. The hero squad then follows as planned, and it's announced that there will be a 3-hour time limit for today's expedition. Unexpectedly, Gaie takes the stage, declaring he won't be tricked a second time. Our announcers then give a rundown of the provided items and emphasize the importance of the resurrection bracelets. Soka then asks for a test subject, but of course nobody volunteers to be killed. Due to this, they enter the dungeon with Molly as their victim. But as Soka draws her blade, Gaie jumps in, laughing, and cuts off Molly's arm, before removing his head only a moment later. Rimuru is beyond pissed, but a smiling Molly reappears a second later, to a grand applause. Basan's group recklessly enters the dungeon without mapping their path and abruptly falls through a pitfall trap to the next floor. Rimuru, however, didn't install any pitfall traps this high up and turns his gaze upon Ramirez. Apparently, she thought he forgot to install them, so she took the initiative herself. Now, Aaron's group is methodically working their way through and somehow seems to be avoiding every trap they come across. Turning his gaze once again, it's revealed that Aaron gave Ramirez a couple of cakes in return for information on the starting floors. Assuming the worst case scenario, he asks about the upper level loot, but thankfully Ramirez didn't change anything there. Miraculously, the hero's party has already reached the 4th floor, primarily due to his unique skill, causing him to stumble upon every trap floor possible. Then lastly, we have Gaie, who's currently sprinting through the dungeon at top speed. Roughly 2 hours later, Basan's group stumbles upon a massive bear, which isn't giving them the chance to retreat. His party is significantly stronger than this monster, so Rimuru wonders why they're being so cautious. Though after Soka remarks on the deadly claws, it finally sinks in that this is not actually a game, and he begins to think he may need to lower the overall difficulty. Upon defeating the bear, the group opens a silver chest, earning them a rare sword as their reward. The fight didn't go exactly as planned, but overall it made for great advertising. Ramirez then finally admits that Veldora might have increased the frequency of rare items, but honestly, Rimuru is glad he did. Now, Aaron's party just cleared the 1st floor, and with the assortment of potions they looted along the way, they pick up the pace, aiming to find some rare loot. Ramirez admits to revealing the location of the mini-bosses, just as Aaron uses a trap door to reach floor 5. Though upon landing, Guido fakes an injury and uses a potion, all just to advertise for Tempest. They then accidentally stumble upon a mini-boss and easily dispatch it, earning themselves a rare sword. A certain hero's party just reached floor 9, prompting Ramirez to apologize as she never thought someone would use the trap floors like this. A moment later, they reach the boss chamber, where Jinrai one-hits the boss, scoring them a rare dagger. After witnessing all of this, Rimuru vows to completely remove all the trap floors. Then only a moment later, Gaie reaches the boss chamber, which is now empty. The boss will respawn in roughly 30 minutes, but there's only 15 minutes remaining in today's expedition. Gaie insults the dungeon master and demands for the boss to be respawned now. The dryad filming him declares he's broken the rules and simply asks for an apology. Of course, he scoffs at this response, leaving the dryad with no choice but to dish out punishment. To begin with, she turns off the pain reduction in his bracelet, wraps him in thorny vines, before finally decapitating him. The crowd is shocked at what they just witnessed, and it's explained that rule breakers will have all loot stripped away from them. The man in question then respawns on the floor in front of them, but he's still unconscious from the immense pain. Our Demon Lord is more than pleased with this opening, though a certain dragon complains he's yet to see any adventurers. The final event of the festival is another grand banquet, and all the nobles are now interacting as friends, and the barrier between monsters and humans seems to have vanished. As Rimuru knows, everything will go back to normal tomorrow. The following morning, there's a loud commotion at the meeting hall due to the merchants demanding their fair payment. Molly is doing his best to calm them down when out of nowhere Duke Muse comes to his aid. It's explained there to be multiple payment options, but the Duke exclaims that trust is the most important part of any deal. This is why he has an idea that can help Tempest out of this predicament. Benimaru and Diablo enter the room, intimidating everyone present. Rimuru follows behind them, well aware that some of these merchants are actually journalists in disguise. The Duke humbly greets Demon Lord Rimuru, though it's pointed out he's not associated with anyone here. Rimuru exclaims that Tempest has plenty of money, followed by Molly meekly saying they're only accepting Dwarven gold. Our uninvited Duke proclaims Dwarven gold to be the standard set by the Western Council, and Rimuru is sure that it was this Duke's idea to trap Tempest in a favor. Molly offers up ancient coins, or even an equivalent amount of goods, but all the merchants decline this compromise. We then get a glimpse into the Duke's backstory. It turns out he has strong ties to the powerful Rozo family, whom ordered him to entrap Tempest, and as far as he can tell, everything is going according to plan. The Duke offers to help Tempest out of this predicament, but Rimuru declares it's unnecessary, as Geld hauls in the Dwarven gold coins. The room goes silent. Mr. Duke realizes he's screwed, so he exclaims that these coins must be counterfeit. Some of Diablo's friends, who are also journalists, then enter the room, just as the coins are appraised to be real. Every merchant is then paid their fair share, and one of them states he hopes to do business here again. Rimuru, however, declares that won't be happening, as it's obvious they can't be trusted. The Duke yells that's unfair, as they were only following the rules, but Rimuru reminds them Tempest isn't part of the Western Council, and that he's actually planning to become their rival. Demon Lord Rimuru then walks out of the meeting hall, leaving the rest to a smiling friend. A while later that same evening, everyone gathers as they admit to being shocked that Rimuru banned the merchants. Gazeel thinks that was a bit drastic, but Elmesia thinks it was more than fair. Rimuru then states that the Duke was likely just a minion, and that he suspects someone more powerful will approach them next. I mean, they're essentially in an economic war with the West, and Elmesia almost feels bad for their opponent. Now Geld wants to know why they came down so hard on the individual merchants, prompting Molly to reveal that he stepped in removing their bans, but this means that all the merchants now owe him a favor. Moving on, Gazeel brings up his concerns with the festival, asking who created the TV and projectors. Vesta looks dejected, and Gabiru proudly states that it was originally Rimuru's idea. Apparently, these devices could be used to gain significant advantages during times of war, which Rimuru hadn't even thought about. Gazeel then sternly warns our slime not to haphazardly reveal new technology like this again. Thalion then gladly offers to buy any new technology that Tempest is willing to sell. Aaron thinks upgrading their plumbing would be worthwhile, prompting Errol to scold her for talking so informally to the Emperor. He's, however, completely ignored as the women converse undisturbed. Elmesia does, however, want Tempest to send some engineers her way, and offers to pay him to build a train to Thalion, though he asked for her researchers to help him with the creation. Mumiji then offers to let them build a tunnel, as long as Benimaru is in charge of the construction. Sadly though, that's not his specialty, but Rimuru promises to bring him during the inspections, along with Hakuro. King Yom then grabs everyone's attention as Murin brings up the highway, and the Monster-Human Cooperative Alliance being formed. Basically, she wants to know how Farminus can assist them, so Rimuru offers to purchase the land for the trains, and asks for manpower to help with the construction. A Baron under Blumen's king is then introduced, as he asks who will be working these trains inside Blumen's borders. Rimuru would prefer his country to handle it, prompting the Baron to declare they'll begin training workers right away. Taking this opportunity, Veldora loudly complains that he didn't see a single adventurer within the dungeon. Our slime admits the parties were weaker than expected, and Masayuki says they only made it to floor 10 by pure accident. Veldora wonders why they worked so hard then, but Molly proudly exclaims the advertising was a huge success. They're even thinking of adding a huge bounty for the first person that can clear all 100 floors. They want the guild to manage the dungeon's prizes, leaving Yuki to wonder why. It's because the guild would be great advertising for them. Plus, they wish to use the guild's adventurer cards to manage the dungeon. Yuki does recognize the wild monsters in the forest are growing scarce, prompting Molly to say the dungeon fixes that issue. As this benefits both sides, Yuki agrees to their idea and plans to set up a guild branch here in town. Changing the mood a bit, Hinata worries the dungeon will cause people to grow careless, leading to avoidable deaths outside of it. I mean, Tempest is doing everything they can to warn people about the dangers, but Hinata states it's not enough. Because of this, she wants to send holy healers, known as priests, here to Tempest to train inside the dungeon. Our Demon Lord accepts, and Hinata also reveals she wants the paladins, including the captains, to take on the dungeon as well. Arnaud and Bacchus complain it'd be way too easy, but then they remember who's guarding the 100th floor. Lastly, Rimuru brings up the Eastern merchants, prompting all the nations present to promise they've been keeping a close watch on them. The church has even cut all ties with the East ever since Damrata tried to trick Hinata. Yuki, however, declares that it's up to each individual guild branch to do business with whomever they please. The meeting is then adjourned as all the guests leave and only Rimuru's staff remains. Benimaru asks if he's made a decision, and Rimuru declares Yuki to have been working with Demon Lord Clayman. Diablo feels the same way, and all their research points to the fact that the moderate jesters are tied to the East. Though for now, they'll have to just wait and watch, since they don't have any hard evidence. Rimuru then wonders if his assumption could be wrong.
That is highly unlikely.
Mirabelle exclaims that Duke Muse failed, and Granville admits that he should have let her handle it. He just felt like Rimuru was too valuable to destroy, but Mirabelle the Greedy declares it's her turn to act. A letter then arrives to Tempest 1 month later.